Okay. Hopefully we're back in business. Sorry about that. I'll wait to see if you're back in the chat. Okay, we're back. Been having really inconsistent internet. It's been extremely annoying. I'm losing potential viewers because of it. I know it. It's really frustrating. Um. So, anyways, So I'm going to read about tweening a little bit. Uh, Really disappointed with my internet. It does feel like I don't know. At first I was straying away from this idea, but it really does feel like the board should be a resource. And then what I can do is we can change whenever we're about to do something to the board, we can just make another resource that would solve this problem altogether, if seeing if the board is solvable. So, make sure I spelled algorithm right. Frozen, are you back? Not sure if I lost you. Let me just do a test sound. Okay. So yeah, let's do that first. Let's and we're gonna start doing some cleanup here. So we'll make a new folder. We'll call it board. We'll make a new script. And okay. So we'll this is going to be a pretty significant refactor, and we'll see, I guess, right away whether or not this is worth it. So first thing we're going to change is we're going to call each position on it. What we're calling board here, we're going to call cells on the board resource. So it'll be board.cells. And then we need to start throwing out some of this stuff. So we've got like get matches, and then is board solvable. The first thing we do is we okay. Hang on a second. My printer's printing for some reason. Nobody here should be printing anything. I'll be right back. All right. I mean, it'll rip out a lot of the code in here, which is good. The state, the data will be separated. These are all good things. I feel like I started doing this and I stopped for some reason. But let's and it might be this instance thing, this add piece idea. We don't want the resource to do that at all. The resource needs to represent the data purely. Piece instance. And then piece instance is what's creating the randomness. So this is going to be pretty significant. Random. I'm So we're going to try and experiment with creating a seed. Okay. So we're doing a pretty significant refactor here. I'm going to be really ripping out a lot of stuff here. The game's not going to be working for a while. But I would like to create a seed that we generate our randomness for our board from. And this will eventually equals integer. What are we wrong? Is this because it's a reserved word? Let's call it from seed. And so hash, if we look at GD script, hash returns an integer of the variable passed. So the seed, let's look at a Minecraft seed. Are they all numbers? Sorry. I'm learning. This is a learning stream. So Okay, and I'll be right back. All right. So we could just copy this all together. So at the start, but instead of ready, it'll say sorry, I had no way to getting a hold of you. Give me your phone number. I'll text you. It's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm doing a pretty big refactor on the code for the game because you know you're doing a jam game and you're just trying to get things done. So a lot of the stuff that I oh, thanks. Let me write that down. Was it in the chat here on mine? Oh, The 0. I'm like, is 0 an international number? Isn't it 1? Doesn't it usually start with a 1? Anyways, what I was working on was I'm doing a refactor of truly separating the board data from what's happening on the screen. Those are the two. So I'm doing that first so that I can then work on the is the board solvable algorithm in a much more expedient and faster way and figure out what's going wrong with that quicker, but also then I can do all this fancy stuff and animate all this stuff and everything and not have to worry about like what's happening to the actual state of the data on the board. The other thing that this will allow me to do is I'll be able to print a seed on the very bottom corner of the screen, and then if somebody says they have a problem or something, I can have them send me a screenshot of the seed of their board, and it'll have the seed code on the bottom, and I'll be able to use that to be able to play the exact same board that they had, and at least create some sort of like people can share seeds and things like that and be like, oh, this one's a cool board, and you can do like your like on Metroid, your what was the name that you could put in Jason something on the original NES Metroid? Hey man, did you get any info on how the game ranked? No, there's one more day of voting. So we got about 24 hours. We'll find out. But I got to show you, man. Let me show you Godot Wild GM. All the comments are about your audio. So, but first we'll see. Let me show you. The gem is over, but how do I show you how much time is left on the ranking itch? Here we go. Let's go to, here we go. This should be able to go this way. Overview. Here we are. So yeah, we have 25 hours. We'll find out. Well, yeah, it was my idea, but you did it. So I'm blaming you. But yeah, look at this. Sound effects were wonderful. Huh? Especially like how the music reacted to the sequence of matches. Huh? That's you? Nice audio. Huh? Combo's really satisfying with the increasing sound. And almost every single one mentions the sound. So I really appreciate it, man. Because, like, that was the thing. Like, I had that idea, but there's no way I could execute on that. So if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do it. But I knew exactly what I wanted, and you were able to give it to me. So that was super cool, and I really appreciate it. That was a beautiful combination of, like, direction and, like, someone being able to do it. But I'm like, I just want that sound of the water with the crystals and the sound of the, like, wee, like, you're like, I can do this. You're like, what's his name on Star Trek? Chekhov. I could do this. Okay, so let me give you the update really quick though on the other thing. Frozen. So yesterday, it took me 29 tries. I logged them by my commits. That's it. I'm quitting my engineering management gig. Full-time sound designer. So 29 tries, but we got it working. Now I'll be able to commit my changes to this game and then put out a new version tag for Git, and then it'll automatically publish the new version to itch. And the cool thing about this too is that instead of having to have it like mess up my stream with me uploading, the creation of the executables, the zipping of it, and the uploading to itch happens on GitHub's side, not mine. And I don't have to pay for it. I know someday they're going to start charging for these actions more directly, but for now I'll take it. So that's happening automatically now. So we'll get more closer to that continuous delivery that I'm kind of a fan of, and that's just how I work now. Yeah. The other thing that I'll be able to do with this eventually is two other things that I'd like to do. One, I'd like, as soon as the upload and the publishing of the new version on itch happens, that it sends a message to Twitch chat and says, here it is, and it's right there. And the other thing that I'd like to do too, before the export even happens, is yeah, no problem. I'll send you the script. It's a GitHub action, and I got it figured out. So the two main things to get this working, the hurdles I had to get over is runs on indicates the version, it runs in a container, right? So it's like a Docker basically, or something like that, where I'm telling it to run this job in Ubuntu, right? And then, so that was one thing that I had to understand. The second thing I had to understand is uses means that it's going to use someone else's work, someone else's actions. And eventually all actions lead down to some form of scripting on the OS level, generally. Okay, so that was like two things that I had to understand about it. The other thing that I had to understand is that you need to, if you have a series of jobs, if you want information to be passed from each job, the first thing was needs means that you need this job to finish first. So I need the export game job to finish first. Then I need to use these things called outputs to give me information about some sort of variable from a previous job. In this case, I need the archive directory location, right? So that was one of the missing links to all of it. And the other final thing is that each job runs on its own instance. And so you need a way of storing the files basically from one job to the next. And in order to do that, you have to use something like these what they call artifacts, which essentially allows you to upload a file or files to a place that's outside of the instance that you can access from one instance to the next. And you need to know those things. So once you have an archive, you can get the archive name, and then using that archive name, you can do that, do stuff to it. So I have one job that generates the actual executables and zips them, and then puts those into an artifact that I can then grab from the next job, which deploys to itch automatically. So yeah, it was a pain in the butt. It took me 29 tries. I couldn't sleep last night. I was like, I can do this, and I don't want to do it on stream. I don't want to waste my time on stream. I am going to have to leave here soon, though, because my kid's doing some sort of STEM thing that I want to kind of participate in. Mostly, I just want to make sure that the like 13-year-olds there aren't going to be mean to her, because she's younger and she gets treated like anybody treats a 5-year-old, and I prefer that doesn't happen, and I subtly nudge them in that direction when I'm around teenagers. I'm like, she's smart, leave her alone, like stop, like let her speak, let her finish talking, let her work out a problem, because she can do it just like you can if you just zip it. It's hard to say that politely, or to like suggest with an adult hand that happened, but I'm finding ways of doing it. Anyways, yeah, so that's that. I got that going, so super cool. Anytime I do a new tag for a new version release, it'll automatically fire this action in GitHub and upload it to itch. But the other thing I was going to say is I want to get Godot. There's some plugins for doing testing. So I want to get some of that going too, especially since it's a puzzle game. I'd like for tests to happen to make sure that everything's okay. And there's two ways I could do that. I could have the tests fire before I can even send a commit. But I don't think I'll do it that way because I'd like to be able to get the code commits up in case something goes wrong on my computer. So I'd rather the tests happen when it's trying to create the executables. And then I could fire them locally whenever I want. But that's a little bit more that I'm not going to be working on just yet. So what I'm working on right now is ripping out let me go back to comments here really quick. This is giving me flashbacks to setting up a component library to develop deployment at work. Yeah, I learned a lot about YAML and the way that it works with GitHub Actions. It reminds me a lot of writing shell scripts. It's just a little weird how it all works. And it makes me a little concerned to use someone else's actions just because this is their repo and they could delete it at any point, and then that'll break mine. I don't like that. I wish that I could make a copy of it, and I guess I could. Maybe I should. So the thing that I'm working on right now is separating the data structure from the game. It's the dynamic elements of the game. So we're basically doing almost a full refactor. The code here should shrink dramatically. Anything that's doing any manipulation to data will disappear from here. And we'll go into resource, which we're calling board resource. And this will allow us to have custom seeds. And then we'll be able to print the seed on the screen. And then if somebody's saying they're having a problem or whatever, we can copy that seed number and get the exact same board that they had. So that's the plan. Although inside of the random number generator, there is a warning that the underlying algorithm is an implementation detail. As a result, it should not be depended on for reproducible random streams across Godot versions. So what that means is that our seed, if we update Godot, that seed is only going to work for the release that was based off of that previous version of Godot. This is common, though, even with something like Minecraft. That the seeds don't work across all versions. Usually major releases, right? And so that might be another thing that I might want to do for as standard practice is if I update the version of Godot that a game is made on, that the release number, that maybe the second number goes up or something. I don't know. But anyways, so now we're going to do this initial piece of code here, which goes around our ring. And so we also have this add piece here, or at least we're calling it that. We're going to refer to them strictly as cells. Pieces will be referred to only inside the game logic, cells inside the board. The instance of pieces will always be handled inside the main game code. Those instances of the nodes will not exist inside of our board resource. So that's my plan. So we don't have this add piece, which will be called add cell here. And that's my cue to go. Let me just check on my wife and see how it's going. I got to get a bunch of so we have this add piece code, which we're going to refactor for, call it add cell. And we're not going to do piece or position. We're not going to add child. And we're going to go, instead of board, it's called cells. And instead of piece, we're going to create a new type for that piece. So what we're going to do is, so seed will be a random integer by default if there is none. Me too. I'll let you know, man. I'll let you know. Thanks for keeping me going, and have a good day. So, wonder if we can do. Can we do? Because we've got this. Random range. So we can do this. Generates a pseudo-random unsigned integer. I wonder why it's so small. Not that it has to be super complicated or super large, but that's strange to me because int, if we look at types, int goes all the way up to here. But maybe this RNG doesn't currently uses PCG32. So why don't we generate one from a ceiling? Randy range generates a pseudo random 32-bit signed integer between from and to. So we'll do this seed is an integer, and if it's empty, we'll do a random range between 0 and our limit, which is this. What are we mad about? Expected identifier or argument. Do we have to set view problem? Expected in an identifier. If I do this, that's not going to work. Is this going to work? This is some sort of syntax thing that I'm not getting right. Now it's complaining about a misplaced column. Size equals 0. Types equals 0. Seed equals 0. Still the same. Is it this? No. Expected an identifier for an argument. What is it talking about? What if we just get rid of all this? Okay, so what am I doing wrong here? Oh, it's the use of the word seed. Okay. It's a reserved word. Okay, fine. Start over here. Size is integer. Random. So we'll make a random seed, which will come from if it's not come from random number generator. So random seed by default, it'll be an integer, and by default it'll equal random seed. So here's a problem I'm running into. If we set the random seed to 0, how do I know if I need to generate it or not? I can't set it to null because I'm declaring the type of integer. So what we could do is say that it's null and then assign a type later. So by default it's null, and then we go, after we randomize, we go if there's no random seed and then random seed random seed will equal, so if there's no random seed, then we go RNG rand I range 0 to what's our limit? This. Okay, so if there's no random seed, then random seed equals a number between these 2 points. Otherwise, if there is a random seed, then we need to go and say, so if no random seed, all we want to do is populate seed. So if there is a random seed, then we go from seed equals string, no, int random seed. So whatever it is, we're going to turn it into an integer. And then we're going to set the seed of our RNG. So then we go here, and we say RNG seed equals from seed. Okay, so this should if there isn't a random, no, and it shouldn't be called random seed. Use seed. So instead of random seed. So if there isn't a supplied seed, make a random one. Okay. Okay. So that should take care of the seed. And okay. So this should give us some consistency. We should be able to make when you start the board, you could theoretically punch in a seed number. Justin Bailey, that's the name I was trying to think of. So you could type in Justin Bailey, and then we'll hash. You know what? We need to set it as an integer. We need to hash it because it could be string, right? So hang on a second. We got to hash it first, don't we? Hash variant var, and it returns an integer. So we don't need to. Okay, so we'll just hash it. Okay. So this will generate our integer. So I mean, they could pass. It's going to be a string. It might be just it might just be integers in the string. But regardless, we're going to hash that, which will turn it into an integer. And okay, so let's go back to creating the board. So for our ring, based around our starting point, we build the ring out. For each hex in that ring, we add a cell. We're setting key value pair here, and we need to generate a random type off of that. So now we're going to use our RNG again. So we go RNG rand I range 0 to size. Now size is a human readable number, and so it's based off of the. We're going to pass this constant when we create it, generally speaking. So it's going to be size minus 1. To build our random. Wait, it won't be size. It'll be types. And types is going to be outside of this. Types is an integer. And set types, we'll call it. And then we'll just go here and set types equals set types. And we'll call this set size. Var size is also an integer. And size equals set size. Okay, so okay, so my daughter's doing some cool stuff. I want to go see it. I don't want to miss it. So I got to go. So I'm going to end the stream. So we're in the middle of a refactor. This is dangerous times here. I have to finish the refactor. I cannot stop mid refactor. So the next time I'm streaming, I will be doing more of this. But you can see already I've gotten rid of probably 30 lines of code from this main section here. And again, the data stuff will be happening on its own, in its own structure. And hopefully then I can just focus on firing off animations and stuff like that in an entirely separate spot. And then we'll be able to test, like when I want to test the board and see is the board solvable, instead of like handling that state stuff and like not changing the actual data of the live board and because I have to like do test rotations on something and run matches against that. So having a resource, I could theoretically just clone the resource and then do those checks against that data on the clone. And then as soon as I go through and I try to get matches by rotating each section individually, I could say, yes, the board is solvable that way. So there's more options with it. Or I could also, in itself, create a clone of the board. And it could instance a child of itself. And then we could run it against that as well. So, yeah, some options. So, anyways. All right, guys. Sorry it's a short one. Sorry I've been changing the times that I've been streaming. Been a little... it's summertime, you know? So you gotta do stuff with the kids and everything, and we gotta be flexible. And we're gonna go get some... I'm gonna go get the cabinets for the kitchen. Because I ripped out the old ones when we had to replace our ceiling that was caving in. That was fun. So I got to stain them and coat them and all that stuff as well. It's going to be fun. All right. See you guys. Should we raid somebody? I could do that really quick. Let's do that. Let's find somebody. Twitch. Every time I go to raid somebody, it's like, hey, you want to watch Amaranth?
Jumping and going
hey, didn't do it.
That's
cool. All right, let's see. Browse recommended channels. Tons of recommended channels. Counter-Strike. Why do you think I want to watch Counter-Strike? Just chatting. Categories. Is there programming? I don't even know what I stream to. I just got it set up and then forgot about it. Isn't there a dev? What am I streaming to? These are my tags. Audiences everywhere. Software. Software. What the heck? Creative? Ah, here we go. Software Godot. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Look at this. We're growing. Creating a roguelike XCOM. Heck yeah. All right. We're gonna raid False Lobster.
And
How do I do anything on Twitch? There we go. So,
you know, I think for now.
all right, guys.
Just leave that as it is.
Raid. Bye-bye.
Commissioning art, nice.